Good afternoon, all the participants. Now I welcome session number 12, resource person, our senior most professor in Civil Engineering Department, University College of Engineering, structure division, Professor V. Bhishma sir. Good afternoon, sir. Welcome to FDP. Unmute sir. Sir.
Yeah, ఇప్పుడు వినిపిస్తుందండి. ఓకే
ఓకే సార్. ఓకే సార్. గుడ్ ఆఫ్టర్నూన్ సార్.
గుడ్ ఆఫ్టర్నూన్.
I request our student volunteer to present brief introduction about resource person.
I'm Swati, here to introduce Professor Dr. V. Bhishma sir, who is a senior most professor in Civil Engineering, University College of Engineering, Osmania University, Hyderabad. He is currently working as CDAC director also. He has got about 24 years of teaching experience and 20 years of research experience. Sir has graduated from civil engineering from CBIT Osmania University, MTech in structural engineering from JNTU Kukatpalli, and PhD from Osmania University. Sir's areas of interest and research interest: structural analysis and design, concrete technology, RCC, recycled aggregate concrete, concrete composites, geopolymer concrete, retrofitting of structure, NDT test evaluation, structural optimization, bridge engineering, and earthquake engineering. Sir has attained academic distinctions on basic work on design of recycled aggregate concrete members. He has been a chairperson, ICI HYDC, Charminar Indian Concrete Institute, Telangana State, Hyderabad Center. Sir has published more than 70 papers in international and national journals and conferences, visited abroad for several guest lectures. Sir shares memberships at different professional societies: ICI Indian Concrete Institute Life Member, Fellow Member, ACCE Association of Consulting Civil Engineering Life Member, Institute of Engineers Fellowship. Sir's awards and honors: the Best Guide Award by ICI and ACC National Level Cube Testing Competition in 2016, the Best Academic Award by Smart Infra Engineering Services Trust on 2017, September 15. Sir has edited many conferences, proceedings, and books, has done many consultancy works. He was nominated by Osmania University as a governing body member to Samskriti Institute of Business Management. Sir has nominated by Institute of Aeronautical Engineering affiliated to JNTUH as a chair BOS in Civil Engineering member on 2019 September. He is editorial board member for the Journal of Building Engineering, EVSIE, peer review journal in August 2020, and also National Advisory Committee member for International Conference on Recent Advances in Civil Engineering Infrastructure. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. Sir, please
okay,
start.
Thank you for introducing me, the volunteer. And also I congratulate Dr. Annapurna and coordinator of this program, and then Dr. Anuradha, the co-coordinator of this program. And really this program is going on well. I'm not able to attend all the sessions, but in between I have seen going on well. So all participants definitely will get benefit out of this, because this is a very core area of concrete, and several research works are going on in concrete. So we need to have these sort of programs. So certainly participants will get benefit out of it. Okay, anyway, the topic which is given to me is actually properties and strength characteristics of geopolymer concrete. That is nothing but basic ingredients and strength characteristics of geopolymer concrete. So okay, I am audible to you, all of you. Is
Yes,
it
sir.
okay? My voice is okay for you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I am going to take this afternoon to you on geopolymer concrete because this comes under again the special concrete. So we have several special concretes, and what are the different ingredients that are required for this geopolymer concrete, and how we can make this geopolymer concrete, and what are the advantages of the geopolymer concrete, and what are the different strength characteristics for different grades in association with several materials. I am going to deal with that, and not only that, in my presentation, I am also going to explain about the mechanical properties and then how best we can use these materials properties for the design of RC members. Also, I am going to explain. So I am sure participants will get some insight out of it. So what is geopolymer concrete? When we come to a discussion, geopolymer concrete is a material which is coming from the sustainable material called fly ash. So we use the 100% fly ash. So far, we are using fly ash earlier also, but partial replacement only we are using fly ash, but not completely. But here in geopolymer concrete, we use 100% fly ash, and we get the properties of the concrete. So it is good, and also we can save a lot of resources like energy. Okay, when we produce cement, lot of energy is required to produce the cement material in the form of electricity or your cost. Everything will go into that. That we can save by using this material, because this material is directly available from thermal power stations. So this is the advantage of this geopolymer concrete, because this is one of the sustainable material abundantly used worldwide. So you know very well that cement is a major ingredient of the concrete, but this cement is having its own limitations. So cement is giving a lot of heat of hydration to the concrete, and by the result, because of this heat of hydration, several problems are coming, like cracks, and through cracks leakages, and then through cracks dampness, etc. is being getting problems for concrete. To avoid that, we need to have an alternative material, and carbon footprint is another problem for manufacture of the cement. So therefore, we can avoid by using this sort of sustainable material like geopolymer concrete material. And what is the material that we can use in place of cement then? That is the biggest question, and people are doing a lot of research, and then even concluded several objectives also. Technology is really coming, and then make use of this technology, and carbon emission is being minimized, and we are using the alternative material to produce the heat of hydration into the concrete, because to attain the strength, we need a minimum heat of hydration. And to get minimum heat of hydration, we need temperature to make the geopolymer concrete. And to have the temperature, we need to have 60 to 90 degrees temperature to make the geopolymer concrete. But to have 60 to 90 degrees temperature is very, very difficult actually, because we have to have certain equipments to place at the concrete site, and we need to keep all the arrangements for making heat provisions. And this making of heat provision at site is very difficult actually. So what is the next alternative? Okay, in place of cement, we are using fly ash, fine, but to use directly fly ash, we need heat, and to produce the heat, we need to put 60 to 90 degrees temperature. That is what earlier literature and earlier researchers have done. But to eliminate this heat provision to put at site in preparing concrete and in situ concrete or precast concrete, we have all the researchers, many researchers have done by using GGBS. GGBS is one of the admixture, we can say, ground granulated blast furnace slag, which can be used in fly ash in partial replacement, and we can get the required heat of hydration. required temperature can be achieved, we can able to use the GGBS material into the fly ash. Like we were having earlier, PPC cement. PPC cement is having partly fly ash and 75% of cement and 25% of fly ash, like that. And we were able to produce the PPC cement. But in case of geopolymer concrete, we should also have some sort of provision to have the percentage replacements into the concrete. And the GGBS has been used into the fly ash. Okay, and we are producing the concrete. This is all to minimize the heat and to minimize the cracks and to make the sustainable concrete for future generations. Okay, this is what GGBS has been used into the concrete, and how it can be used. What are the different materials with which we can make the geopolymer concrete by using GGBS? All these things our many students have done the MTech and PhD level work, and then they really got very good results with the GGBS based geopolymer concrete. This is all is to minimize the carbon footprint and then carbon emission into the atmosphere. So several researchers have done studies on the geopolymer concrete by using temperature limitations, and then by using by producing the heat of hydration, by giving the temperatures. But that can be eliminated by using GGBS here. Okay, and those things I'll be explaining to you. Really to get the heat of hydration, we need to have temperature. Okay, and in concrete we have calcium hydrate silicate gel, which is the strength compound. To get this, we need to have curing. Proper curing is required into the concrete, and geopolymer concrete means 100% fly ash we are putting. When we are putting 100% fly ash, we need temperature. When we want to have temperature, we have problems, limitations. So to avoid this, we have selected GGBS as a material, replacement material to make the effective geopolymer concrete in ambient curing situation. We need not have to go to the temperature curing, provided if we are using GGBS into the concrete. So to start with, geopolymer concrete is a special concrete. And I told you why special concrete is required, and why special concrete is required actually. Okay, yeah, special concrete is required because we want to make our structures more durable in certain places. More durable in certain places in the sense that we have special structures like water retaining structures, water tanks, swimming pools, right? And in these areas, we are having always a problem of leakage and dampness. So then in that case, we need to have a complete solution for that, and then to some extent we must make the durable concrete, for which this geopolymer concrete is required. This comes under the special concrete because we are using 100% fly ash in this. Need for the special concrete because we want to make our structures more stiffer, more stronger, more durable. Applications of the geopolymer concrete, as I told you, you can have in water tanks, dam structures. You can have, drainage areas, swimming pools, and in such areas you can have the geopolymer concrete in future, so that our leakage problem will be minimized. So density of the geopolymer concrete is very good actually, because of the polymerization action, and then because of the good workability, because of the alkali activators, which I'm going to explain to you, the different materials with which we are getting very good density. Then durability aspects of geopolymer concretes are very good. And we are also getting strength characteristics, means whatever target strengths we are targeting, those target strengths are being meeting for different replacements of GGBS, and we are able to produce the target strengths for different grades of concrete. For example, our students also have done the M20 to M60, and then now up to M80 students are doing, and then PhD work is also done on high strength concrete of geopolymer concrete. And not only that, the geopolymer concrete can be used for different coarse aggregate materials Geopolymer concrete also being done with recycled aggregate. Our students are doing now with recycled aggregate geopolymer concrete, and we are getting mechanical properties and all strength characteristics very well. So this comes under a sustainable material because fly ash is the material which is freely available at the thermal power stations abundantly. Those materials can be used. Okay, types of special concretes are, we know, fly ash concrete, fiber reinforced concrete, bacteria concrete, self-curing concrete, ultra high strength concrete, self-compacting concrete, and geopolymer concrete. What for special concretes we are making? A normal concrete with which we can survive, but why we are making special concrete? Special concretes are being used for special applications like tunnel structures, water retaining structure, mesh foundations. Then wherever you have a high load carrying capacity bridges, high-rise structures, for which we need all these special concrete. And fly ash is one of the material which is a very good sustainable material. And why I'm saying this very good sustainable material, because fly ash fineness is more than cement fineness. Fineness is very good for fly ash, and this fineness is helping in densification of concrete, achieving good target strength, and minimizing the temperature problems in concrete, and giving better durability in concrete. So this is a very good special concrete, fly ash based concrete. And fiber reinforced concrete is another special concrete where the mesh foundations, when we have vibrations, there the vibrations can be minimized if you can use fibers into the concrete apart from your regular reinforcement. That is the advantage of fiber reinforced concrete. Then bacteria concrete. What is bacteria concrete? We can use bacteria, we can mix bacteria at the mixing stage of concrete. If at all concrete is prone to cracks in future, let us say terrace floor concrete or heat in heat areas where you are producing concrete, with the future heats, concrete may get cracks. So if a crack is going to come to the concrete, then automatically by the bacteria inside the concrete, it can heal up, the crack can heal up. So therefore, this is a very good material, bacteria concrete we can make so that our structures can be more durable in future against the failure, against the crack, against the freeze-thaw resistance, etc. Similarly, self-curing concrete, this also comes under special concrete because we are not able to cure the concrete completely at site. And we have associated problems. What associated problems? We are not able to cure the concrete properly. By the result, our rate of gain of strength is becoming low, and we are not able to achieve the target strengths, and we are not able to get the complete curing and complete heat of hydration inside the concrete. These problems are there. That is the reason why better we should use self-curing compounds like PEG 4000, PEG 6000, so that we can get complete curing, 100% curing, with which we can able to get the target degree of our strength. Okay, so that our structures will be good in future against the durability and all other problems. Ultra high strength concrete. Now we are also working on ultra high strength concrete. This also comes under special concrete because we need to do research on ultra high strength concrete also, because we are going to design the very high rise structures of 60 stories, 70 story, 80 story, 100 stories, for which we need to give definitely high strength concrete and ultra high strength concrete also. Sometimes in Hyderabad now we have in Lanco Hills high rise buildings and all other Gachibowli area high rise buildings. All the buildings are being constructed with M70, M80. Because code has given in IS 456 2000 in 2000, code has given that you have to use high strength concrete for high rise buildings. Keeping that in mind, our people are now started using the very high strength concrete for high rise structures. So ultra high strength concrete is required not only for high rise structures. We need to use these concrete for tunnel structures, important tunnel structures, important bridge structures, bridge decks, so that their durability, their longevity will be more, and then frequent repairs we can avoid. The very first use of these special concretes is we can minimize the repair. If a repair is going to come for RCC or a concrete structures, it is very difficult to handle the task of doing repair. Okay, so and any repair that you do will not be a permanent. The repair that we do is only limited to certain period of time, maybe 10 years, maybe 15 years, but not 100%. Some of the, except some few repairs are there, permanent, but almost 80% of the repairs are temporary only. Roof repairs, leakages, all these things will be, temporary only. That is the reason why we should not invite the repairs into the concrete. So for which we need to use the special concrete. Then self-compacting concrete. Okay, we are not able to consolidate the concrete. We are not able to compact the concrete properly. In that case, and our reinforcement congestion is very, very high now. We are designing all the structures with the ductile designing and then congestion reinforcement, beam column junctions. And we are giving very heavy reinforcement for ductile designing to sustain our structures against the earthquake. Okay, for which we are giving heavy reinforcement. These heavy reinforcement also need to be actually have good quality concrete, then only the total durability can be achieved. For which we need to have this special concrete, that is self-compacting concrete. And also our geopolymer concrete is also self-compacting concrete. Geopolymer concrete can be self-compacting concrete also, because we have seen several cases. After we mix, it becomes like a self-compacting concrete. Because of the alkali activators, we are able to get good mix, good workability and all. So we have several special concretes above. But why we are saying geopolymer concrete is also a special concrete? Because this concrete has a special characteristics that this concrete can be even more workable than any other concrete, I can say. With alkali activators or additional admixtures into geopolymer concrete. Okay, additional admixtures into geopolymer concrete. Whatever activator that we are adding also will act as a admixtures. So with these additional what we say admixtures or activators, the geopolymer concrete is more cohesive concrete or good dense concrete when compared to all other concretes. This is what the observation in our investigation is. So this concrete, because with utmost care we normally design the concrete, place the concrete and compact the concrete. Even then somewhere some leakage, some dampness is coming, and that is causing a lot of repair issues and problems, and we are not able to repair it appropriately. We are not able to do the proper retrofitting appropriately after the failure. So geopolymer concrete is one such concrete wherein you will not have dampness, you will not have cracks into this concrete, because it is made up of 100% fly ash, and temperature is very less, and heat of hydration also is the control heat of hydration, with which definitely this concrete is going to be a very good special concrete in future, geopolymer concrete, because denseness is very good, density is very good, load carrying capacity is also very good. But one disadvantage is there with this concrete. Okay, everything will have one disadvantage like that. One small disadvantage is there for geopolymer concrete, wherein it can fail in more brittle way, particularly for high strength, very high strength concrete. So we are able to see for very high strength concrete when we are testing the cylinder for the behavior of stress strain curve. We are getting a very lesser parabolic shape. We are getting a more straight line portion and very less parabolic portion. This is only the disadvantage with geopolymer concrete, but this can be controlled because your elasticity, Young's modulus will be within the limit. Yeah, within the limit 5000 root FCK. So therefore no problem for that. But at the ultimate, when it is going to reach maximum or ultimate, then there are certain issues, and those issues also can be really sorted out by doing further research. Okay. these are all the things that I want to just tell, and about special concrete. And now we are having the materials used for geopolymer concrete. Okay, fly ash can be used. Fly ash we are using, fine aggregate, coarse aggregate, water, sodium hydroxide, sodium silicate, potassium hydroxide, potassium silicate. The combination that we can use, okay, are these two: sodium hydroxide, sodium silicate, or potassium hydroxide, potassium silicate. But the thing is, sodium hydroxide, sodium silicate is a little cheaper. Potassium hydroxide and potassium silicate will be costlier. That's the reason why almost all the researchers are selecting the first option only. Even we can select second option also, but why unnecessarily we are supposed to give more cost for the material? And of course, combination of the above material, we can alkaline liquid, we can call it, okay, the combined material. Then water with molarity we use. Then of course, you know, we have workability, very good workability. As I told you, in this one we can see slump, compaction factor, then cohesive mix we can observe. Good slump, good compaction factor, then cohesive or uniform mix, good quality due to different ingredients, materials which are there, alkali activators, as I told you. Then uniform matrix in fresh concrete state we can observe. Then good density we can observe. Then good particle packing, etc., is possible in geopolymer concrete. Okay, yeah. So that for curing 100% fly ash based GPC requires 60 to 90 degrees temperature curing, but GGBS based concrete requires 43 to 50 approximately. Yeah, percentage of GPC, that is GGBS, which is required is 43% to 50%. And beyond that, again, it is, you know, decreasing the strength. Okay, this is what we can see, and this is what we have observed in our investigations. Hence, the preferable to go with the ambient curing with the above GGBS 43 to 50%. Okay, GGBS in fly ash. Okay, attainment of strength, more rate of hydration due to alkaline liquids, more hydration process due to GGBS, more rate of gain of strength 3-7-28 days, because due to alkali activators and the heat of hydration is faster. So we are getting maximum strength even at 7 days also, sometimes for very high strength concrete. And better we should keep till 28 days, so that, you know, our normal FCK that we get is at 28 days. That is what we have observed, and we are also waiting till 28 days for the specimens. And not necessary the specimens to cure under the water. It is only ambient curing. You can leave after making your specimens in atmosphere. So therefore you can test after 28 days. More advantages in low grade concrete and less advantages in high grade concrete, as I told you. Geopolymer concrete will have more advantages in low grade concrete, less advantages in high grade concrete. As I told you, high grade concrete is having more brittle in nature. So therefore, you know, parabolic portion of your behavior of the modulus of elasticity in geopolymer concrete is elastic proportionality limit. You can see more portion of proportionality limit for high strength geopolymer concrete. So this is what the observation is, and you can get the strengths after 28 days, and you can also see short-term properties and long-term properties. Short-term properties are very good. Okay, 28 days after we are getting, we are able to get the target strengths. And long-term properties, you know, some of the researchers have done durability studies, very good. Okay, no negative effects for geopolymer concrete as of now reported by the researchers and several other people worldwide. So good bond, good toughness, adequate durability, adequate stiffness, and good mechanical properties. So these are all achieved for the geopolymer concrete. And it is necessary that we should use, and some of our research scholars, they did work for, you know, several grades, and because if you do not establish the grade, it's highly difficult for us to know the proportions and also to know the replacement of GGBS, etc., for which several researchers, including our MTech and PhD students, have done work. M22, M60, 70, 80 is also in progress. I am not reporting the results of 70 and 80. So, but till 60, we have some results by our MTech students and PhD scholars. So therefore, I am going to show those results also to you. And good mechanical properties, all mechanical properties are very good. Okay, some of the literature reviews also saying the same what I told you, GGBS is being used, but not for a particular grade. They have used some percentage of GGBS, they are getting some amount of the strength, but they are not reported that this particular proportion is for this particular grade, etc. is not reported. So several people have replaced 25%, 50%, 75%, 100%, fly ash with GGBS, but they have not really concluded with the grades. That's what several researchers have done. I don't want to repeat all these things. So the experimental program, which is planned and conducted the studies at our department also, I want to show you some of the results. M22, M60 and M70 and M80 also. Okay, and GGBS replacements that our students have taken up to M60 is 9% to 43%. And even it is more up to 50% also, I told you. This is for very high grade, 70, 80. Okay, but up to M60, the 9 to 43%, GGBS has been replaced and we are getting the required target strengths. Okay, and then, we have basic advantages. Alumina and silica are considerably high as 85% of the total mass of the concrete. Okay, that is the reason why we are able to get the strength, required strength. You can see some of the properties of the fly ash and GGBS. Loss of ignition is 1.9 for fly ash and 2.1 for GGBS. Silica is 52, and then this is 43 GGBS. Alumina is 36.93, 15.66. This is how our GGBS is helping us in making better heat of hydration and getting proper heat of hydration, so that we can get the ambient situation strength without going for the temperature curing. And material used here are locally available river sand, whose properties are given here: specific gravity, modulus of velocity, fineness modulus, etc. Specific gravity. Okay, so natural fine aggregate and natural coarse aggregate can be used directly, no problem. But only thing is a separate mix design procedure need to be followed, for which sodium hydroxide, sodium silicate, or potassium hydroxide, potassium silicate, any of these two combinations we need to take. Okay, so that we can get the required strength for our required, target strength for a given grade. And typically we can see, as I told you, the common alkaline liquid used in geopolymer concrete is sodium hydroxide, sodium silicate. Alkaline liquid we can get it. Potassium hydroxide, potassium silicate, alkaline liquid we get it. But better always we should take the above option so that your cost will be minimized. Otherwise, we will be unnecessarily going with the high cost, and high cost will not be preferable for any construction or any mixed design. And we have actually we have again a process of making the materials, sodium hydroxide, sodium silicate, for which again we need to purchase from local suppliers flakes with purity of 98%, and sodium also prepared by dissolving the flakes into with molarity, and then 1 kg of the sodium hydroxide of 8 molarity can be having the value of 26 7836 8 grams and 263 grams of flakes. So there is a procedure, standard procedure to standardize and then to mix the material 24 hours before. Suppose you are doing tomorrow the casting, today you need to add all these materials, okay, so that you can have. And you have also again weight analysis for the materials that can be used in that. Na2O is 14.7%, SiO2 is 29.4%, or water is 55.9%. So this is again a procedure which is given in mixing process of the geopolymer concrete. You can make out this, and this is how actually the proportions looks like. Your different materials that you can add is sodium hydroxide, water, and sodium silicate. It gives you the alkaline liquid. In the bottom, you can see here alkaline liquid, where alkaline liquid, this is alkaline liquid, sodium hydroxide, sodium silicate, water. Okay. And you can have again, this is another picture, the same thing. Okay, but you can see how different proportions, let us say for 3 cubes, this material, one proportion, 1%, another percentage, like that. You can plan out for different grades. Okay, in this manner, by mixing the material 24 hours before the plan of your casting, 1 day before, in the sense that these are all the materials, fly ash material, GGBS material. This is how the both the materials are being mixed here. You can see, and it is a beauty that, you know, our fly ash and GGBS are very finer, and with these finer materials, we are going to get a very good workability. Okay, and you can mix. It is like a normal mixing only. Whenever we mix, there is a procedure that first we put, you know, our coarse aggregate, then fine aggregate, then fly ash or cement, and then we mix it in a dry state. Then we add the water or alkaline liquid, whatever we are planning to add. Okay, this is how the liquid is being added. Solution after dry mix, you can add like water here. Then you can see the liquidity that we can have, or, you know, lubrication that we can achieve in our concrete. So there is no scope for any honeycomb. There is no scope for any gap. And it is a very, very beautiful concrete. And its color is also like your cement concrete color only, gray. Yeah, so it is very good, and very good. If you can able to do good mix design, I am sure you are going to get good strength. So these are the very recently done beams by our research scholar, PhD scholar, 25% of research coarse aggregate geopolymer concrete. Very recently done. I kept the picture for you, but can you make out the difference of your cement beams and then geopolymer beams? There is no difference at all. Geopolymer concrete beams and then, you know, cement concrete beams, you know, almost same. There is no our student is going to start now for load carrying capacity, moment carrying capacity of the these beams. 1.5 meter beam, 1500 mm by 230 mm by 150. 150 by 230 by 1500 mm beams. Okay. So therefore, improved workability is also very good, as I told you earlier. So I think we need not have to have discussion on this. But, you know, as I told you, this is one of the mixed design with 8 molarity, and then GGBS percentage is 9:43. So this is again done by our research scholar, and fine aggregate, coarse aggregate, and then sodium hydroxide flake, pellets, and then water, which is taken for these grades, and this we can say it is a proportion of the mixed trials that we got for the M20 to M60. Okay, this procedure I have already explained to you. 24 hours prior, we have to mix all those materials, as I told you. Okay, and then, you know, we need to have a minimum temperature of 27 to 25 to 27 degrees. This is room temperature only. Okay, so it means in the ambient situation only we are going to get. Earlier we have done research at our laboratory. When these GGBS has not come, we used to make the geopolymer concrete in the midsummer when temperature is around 50 degrees. And we used to keep all our specimens outside. Okay, after making the concrete specimens, we used to keep the cube cylinders, prism specimens in air outside to have better exposure with the temperature. And we were struggling a lot. Then when GGBS came, we are using GGBS, and in the ambient curing situation only we are able to get. These are our standard cube cylinder prisms, which have been done for 28 days, and they are all according to the standards. The compressive strength that we got for M20 grade concrete is really a target value that we got 28, and then for M60 71. So this is in the range of 28 to 71. It means all the target strengths are being achieved. Okay, and the GGBS is working very well, and in the 60 to 70 degrees temperature is also eliminated by using GGBS, and these are the strengths that we got 28 to 71. So what is the target strength for M20? We know 26.6 is 27. So we are getting here more than target required for M20. Means any grade that you take, M20 means 30, 30 means 40, 40 means 50, 50 means 60, 60 means 70, plus 10 MPa is our target strength when you use the target mean strength formula. Ft is equal to FCK plus T into S. Okay, yeah, Ft is equal to FCK plus T into S, where FCK is characteristic compressive strength, FCK plus T into S. T is the statistical constant for 20 millimeter size of the aggregate, and S is the standard deviation of that particular grade of concrete, with which we are supposed to get plus 10 MPa strength for every grade. When you are taking 20, 30 nearly you should get. 28 means the target 27, 26 point something you are reaching. So that is a fundamental thing that we can remember. Okay, when you are designing one particular grade, you should get plus 10 MPa. That is our target strength, and those target strengths we achieved for all grades with these particular replacements of GGBS. M29, 30, 20%, 40, 27.5%, 50, 38, and then 60, 43. Okay. This is what the material which is giving good characteristics with the addition of different ingredients of the materials into our mix design selector. Okay, these are all the test results that I told you. It is good in compression, good in splitting tensile strength, good in flexural strength, and good in modulus of elasticity at M60. This is how we can understand all the material characteristics of the materials, and also they have tested with the other country codes, and the flexural strengths also will be flexural strengths also have been verified with other country codes, and they are well within the limits. Okay, so and we also have after making the concrete of geopolymer concrete, we cannot leave the geopolymer concrete. Maybe from M20 to M60 or 80, we cannot leave alone like this. We have to use this concrete for design. When we want to use this concrete for design, we need to have a procedure again. Okay, procedure again. And what is the procedure that we require? Normally, we are designing the RC beams, okay, for ultimate moment of resistance by using our conventional formula. Mu is equal to 0.138 FCK BD square or 0.133 FCK BD square. Earlier, we used to have ultimate moment of resistance formula, that is 0.138 FCK BD square. But now our formula is 0.133 FCK BD square, because we are using not 415 grade steel and not 250 grade steel. We are using all 500, 550, 550D. Why we are using these steel? These steels are the advanced steels, okay, and good ductility is there. Manufacturing process has been changed. Therefore, we are using ultimate moment of resistance formula now. Mu is equal to 0.133 FCKBD square, not 0.138 FCKBD square, for which we have all the well-defined equations, but this 0.133 or 0.138 is for normal conventional concrete. We need to have these moment parameters of K. Let us say K is 0.133 or 0.138. This K value is required for geopolymer concrete also, for which it is necessary for us to arrive those values, and we need to arrive those values for each grade. Let us say M20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80. For each grade, we need to have those. For this, again, what we have to do is we are supposed to obtain the stress-strain relations, and these stress-strain relations need to be stress-strain relation values need to be superimposed onto the RC section. And by the result, we can get the moment values, moment correlation values. So for which, again, the further study has been done on geopolymer concrete by our MTech students and PhD students by developing the stress-strain curves for various grades of concrete. To arrive at the moment of resistance equation. Okay, stress-strain relationships for which you can get the ultimate moment of capacities, moment of curvature values, and then load deflection characteristics also we can get it for geopolymer concrete. This is the stress-strain relation for geopolymer concrete that we get. We normalized the stress-strain relations. Smooth curve has come by non-dimensionalizing and normalizing the values from 10% to 100%. Okay, and we predicted the equation of this parabola y is equal to ax by 1 plus bx square. That is nothing but f. Yeah, f is equal to a epsilon by 1 plus b epsilon plus c epsilon square. This is the form of the equation. Y is nothing but f, x is nothing but epsilon, y is nothing but stress, x is nothing but strain. Yeah, y is nothing but stress and x is nothing but strain. So we have selected this equation for getting the stress-strain relations of a non-dimensional form later on. First is the normalized, and we have taken this curve and normalized and kept it as 1, 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4 up to 1 to get a smooth curve. From our experimental values, we predicted this sort of parabolic curve will be there for a grade of concrete, but this curve will be a normalized curve, and this curve will be varying from grade to grade. This curve value will be varying from grade to grade, and each grade, if you can able to get, then each grade that mu is equal to 0.138 or 133 FCK BD square, you can get it from that by integrating the equation of this stress-strain curve. Okay, we get the area of the stress block under the curve, and this area of the stress block, if you get, we get the compressive force. Okay, that is how the investigation has been done for various grades. And as I told you, this F is nothing but sigma. Sigma is nothing but stress, and epsilon is nothing but strain. And boundary conditions have been given for ultimate 1, starting from 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, 0.5, 0.6, 0.7, 0.8, 0.9, 1. Similarly, strain also. Suppose 25 MPa has come for M20 grade concrete. The 25 MPa is normalized into 1. 25 is 1. The next 90% is 0.9. 80% is 0.8, like that. And then normalize the ultimate values for obtaining the stress block parameters. Okay, in that again equation you have ABC constants, and then the constants are arrived for different grades of concrete with the procedures. Okay, yeah, so yeah, A is calculated, A dash epsilon is stress by strain. B is calculated B dash 1 by epsilon, and C is calculated C dash 1 by epsilon square. And again calculated the values of ABC and A dash, B dash, C dash. All these values are obtained, and they are again done for every grade, normalizing after that verified. Okay, yeah, this is nothing but ultimate value. As I told you, normalized values will be the 10% of each level. Okay, like that, for all the grades, these values are obtained. And then the point here is actually we are having conventional values of alpha, beta, gamma, xn by d, or whatever we think stress block parameters. Depth of neutral axis, compressive force, then your center of gravity of the stress block from compression zone, moment of resistance 0.133 FCKBD square. We have for conventional concrete, we need to have the for geopolymer concrete also, for which the investigation has been carried out. And then, as I told you, the same, the equation is idealized, and whatever M20 grade concrete stress strain curve is there, that stress strain curve is superimposed onto the RC section. When we superimpose the strength characteristics of M20 grade concrete onto the RC section, then on that RC section, whatever moment of resistance we are going to get is for that geopolymer concrete, for which we have superimposed all the stress strain curves onto the RC section one by one for M20, M30, M40, M50, M60. Okay, and we calculated C1, C2 compressive force in parabolic section, compressive force in rectangular section. This stress strain curve again is divided into rectangular and parabolic. And in rectangular and parabolic, and compressive force C is nothing but C1 plus C2. Okay, the depth of neutral axis for ultimate load has been arrived. Okay, so that depth of neutral axis we can know. And then tensile force we can know from the geometry of our calculations. Then similarly, compressive force we can get it. If we get compressive force and tensile force, we have also taken a balanced section for our experimental work, and also theoretically balanced section for this theoretical. So that moment and curvature, and this moment and curvature we can correlate, and we can really compare the values for which these stress block parameters have been taken. These are the constants which I told you, and this is how a section has been taken, RC section. Yeah, expression for compressive force. Okay, I have shown you beam. That beam is 1.5 meter beam. Experimentally, moment is arrived. For example, with the ultimate load, moment we can calculate, 2-point load is there. Moment we can get it with the reactions. Force into perpendicular distance is your moment of resistance, we can get it. But theoretically also we should get. So theoretically also same geometry has been assumed. For the same geometry, whatever the stress strain curves are being superimposed onto the RC section, and theoretically compressive force and tensile forces have been arrived. Okay, to arrive the theoretical compressive and tensile forces, this process has been done. Okay, B is 150, D is 230, and L is 1500. The compressive force is alpha 1 FCU B into XU, where you are having area of the stress strain curve, that is AB, is given by AB is equal to alpha 1 FCU epsilon U. Alpha 1 is also calculated, and then the expression of the compressive force is arrived like this from these equations, where AB is the area of the stress block under the curve, area of the stress strain curve. Okay, and this, to get this area of the stress strain curve, because it is in the parabolic shape, we need to definitely integrate this equation. If you can able to integrate this equation, we are going to get the compressive force area, and if area is known to us, we can get compressive force. So AB need to be integrated, this F. Okay, stress. We have taken an equation, stress AX by 1 plus BX plus CX square. It is nothing but your, yeah, F is equal to A epsilon by 1 plus B epsilon plus C epsilon square. This is the expression that we are going to get. It means, why I'm explaining all these things means because we are getting the compressive strength of geopolymer concrete, and unless we calculate the design parameter of that particular M20 grade concrete, we are not able to design the RC beam. We need to design a RC beam of that particular M20 grade concrete in RC section also. Our job is not to just arrive the target strength of the geopolymer concrete and leave. No, for RC section, how you are going to design completely for RC section geopolymer concrete. Okay, Q compressive strength alone will not be sufficient. Its behavior in RC section also will be different. To arrive the uniformity and to get the correct design parameter, we need to compulsorily superimpose the plain concrete values onto the RC section, and we are supposed to get the moment parameters also we need to arrive, for which we need to do all these things. This is what it is actually. So therefore, like that, by integrating all these things, you are going to get, you have an integration of this process. After you integrate this, you are going to get so many integration. I'm showing here integral of F, sorry, integral of F dx, integral of F d epsilon. F is nothing but y. Integral of y dx, that is nothing but. Integral of F dx, d epsilon means integral of F dx. The participants, are you able to understand what I am saying? Integral of F d epsilon means integral of F dx. Y dx, rather you can understand like this. Integral of y dx. We can integrate, and in that again you have ABC constants. Those ABC constants are being arrived. Similarly, K1, K2 constants are being arrived. And finally, by doing all these integrations, you are going to get a value of AB. That's what I am going to show it to you. AB, area, AB value. You are going to get AB value. Yeah. This is the AB value. And after getting AB value, you are going to substitute into this equation. Cu is equal to B into XU by epsilon Cu into AB. What is this B? B is nothing but, cross section of the beam, RC beam. X is depth of neutral axis. What is the depth of neutral axis? Where compressive force is equal to tensile force. Strain in compression, strain in tension, we equate it and we get a neutral axis. That is nothing but XU value. Once you get XU value, corresponding AB is there, and then epsilon Cu is also there. Strain in compression, ultimate strain in compression, this epsilon Cu is, and AB is there. So you can get the value of the compressive force. After getting the value of compressive force, you have to equate. Therefore, that is the that is how you can arrive at the compressive force. And similarly, you can also obtain the tensile force. Tensile force to obtain T is equal to Fy AST. And from our calculations, we can get this value as tensile force in this manner by substituting all these values. Okay, yeah, this is strain in the stress, Young's modulus of steel, then strain in steel. Similarly, the area of the steel that we have taken. This area of the steel is already experimentally taken, and theoretically also you can get the value of your area of steel. The whole story is here again, assuming initial trial value of XU by D, depth of neutral axis at which your strain in steel also you can get it in this manner, and then you can calculate the tensile force like this and compressive force like this. Then finally, we are going to get the value of your stress block parameter, that is XU by D, and by equating the compressive force is equal to tensile force. What is this compressive force? Theoretically, all these things, whatever I am telling is theoretically, because experimentally anyway we have all the values on RC beam. On RC beam, we have values of what? Compressive force, values of tensile force, with which we can get all the moment of resistance, bending moment, all those things we have arrived experimentally. Okay, but for the same geometry of that experimental RC beam, by considering the same geometry, we have calculated theoretically the compressive force and tensile force by using this integration for compressive force, and by using the values from tensile, we are getting compressive force is equal to tensile force, and also getting depth of neutral axis. And how the compressive force values are going to be calculated for M20 grade concrete is this: we have to generate all the depth of neutral axes right from load 1 to ultimate load. And after generating all those values, we can say at 0.5, 0.49, 0.48, 0.47, 0.46, 0.45, 0.44, 0.43, 0.41, 0.42, 0.41. See 0.41 at which you are getting your compressive force by using your parameters here, compressive force. These compressive force values can be equated with experimental values, and you can say that it's a good correlation. So all these processes to get the compressive force theoretically. Okay, like that we have to generate the XU by D alpha value, then beta value, then XU by D. All these things are what? Your alpha, beta, gamma, Xn by D are your RC section properties. By superimposing your M20 grade concrete onto the RC section, theoretically you are finding all the stress block parameters, and from there you are getting the moment of resistance and moment curvature relationships. So by using these values, you are going to compare these values with your experimental values. Okay, these are all the values you got for example, curvature, moment, and all these things, theoretical moments, and all these things. Okay. Similarly, your shears, etc., you can calculate. But my point here is, I will tell you anyway. These are the beams which are being cast for M20 to M80, and these are all the experimental setup that we have done at our laboratory by our MTech and PhD students. Okay, yeah, we have a loading setup here like this. 3 dial gauges at the top and 3 dial gauges at the bottom, and deflection meters at the bottom. This is to find the deflections, and the top one is to find the strain in compressions, and the bottom one is to measure the strain in tension, and these are all the deflections. So strain in compression, strain in tension. If you can measure with the dial gauges, you can at each loading rate, you can find for the stress block strain in compression, strain in tension. These two values, you can make a linear variation from strain in compression ultimate to strain in tension ultimate. You get a intersecting point. At that particular intersecting point, you get a depth of neutral axis. And if you get that particular neutral axis, you can get a curvature. What is the definition of curvature? Strain in compression by depth of neutral axis. Strain in compression is your top strain, compression strain, and depth of neutral axis is your point intersecting the top strain to the bottom strain. You get a curvature. That is nothing but curvature. Moment versus curvature relations we can get from experimentally. The same curvature also we get theoretically. We can compare these two for the same grade, same geometry. That is experimental, this is theoretical. If these two values are really intersecting or really cohesive, nearer values, then you can say that your methodology is correct. This is how you can plan, and this is the beam, how it is kept at the top and bottom, and we have tested the beams. This is what the beam ambient curing means. The specimens kept out, not in the water tank, not with the gunny bags. Curing has been done. It is done in an ambient curing situation. Okay. If rain comes, there may be a problem like that. We kept under the shed, under the shade. And these are the beams tested after, 28 days. Beams tested after 28 days. Okay, it is a normal, these geopolymer concrete, but you can see the visualization cracks as good as, your conventional concrete. Same, no variation, nothing. In fact, we found in some cases that, natural concretes are having more cracks, abrupt cracks, but the geopolymer cracks are not abrupt cracks. They are very, very uniform cracks. Okay. And this is how the load carrying capacity we can think of, and we can understand. I can say the third column, you can see 27, and is theoretical and experimental is 33. The moment of resistance experimentally done for the same geometry is 33, and theoretically is 27. Similarly for M30, 35, 41, 40, 44, 49, 50, 54, 59, 60, 68, 72. It means what? All the experimental values are more and the theoretical values are less. Okay, this is a good design. Theoretical values always should be conservative. Experimental values always should be more than the theoretical values. This is well proven from the investigation. What we have done is correct. It means it is a sort of validation, we can say. If your value of M20 theoretical is 33, experimental is 27, means your design is failed. Whatever specimens that you have designed, whatever stress strain curves that you have superimposed, is not meeting your requirement. That is the meaning. So here theoretical values are now less, experimental values are more, means, they are well within the design. So therefore they are safe design. We can say that they are safe design. They are not under design. Okay, this is the understanding. So in all cases, all grade, theoretical is less, experimental is more. This is always good. Okay, yeah. So that we can say that our design is correct. This is how, this geopolymer concrete with the ingredients and the characteristics, we whatever we obtained, the values are really meeting the target strengths of all the grades. Now I have shown only up to M60 because 70, 80 results are not out. Therefore, it takes some time to consolidate them. Our students are doing. So therefore, this is the improvement which is taking place. That's what I thought I should share with you people all. Okay. So our plain concrete is good. And in RC, all M20 to M60 grades of concrete also really giving very good comparison, and we are getting very good results. Okay, and these results are comparable. All the values are all the theoretical values are conservative, experimental values are more than theoretical values. Therefore, this is good correlation. So I think with this, I thought I can share with you all the design requirements. So with this, my presentation is over. Now I will leave the forum for discussion for 10 minutes, 10-15 minutes, and we can stop our lecture. Okay.
Thank you, sir, for your valuable inputs and elaborative explanation on geopolymer concrete, sir.
Yeah.
Students like us are really benefited, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Okay. Okay. But I really looking forward to hear from you people several questions.
Yes, sir. From the chat box, we have few questions, sir, from the participants.
Okay.
Participants say, sir, thanks for your useful information. Is there examples where this geopolymer concrete technology has been commercialized, sir?
Not yet. It is in research stage, and many researchers are doing actually durability studies also. Many durability studies have come out, but still it is in research stage. It is going to be commercialized very shortly. Within 2 to 3 years, I think we can see in the market also geopolymer concrete. people are trying to do geopolymer concrete for water tank designs, and then for underground sumps, and then swimming pools, and special applications. People are asking. Actually, my home people, they came to me actually for certain clarification. They are also doing certain trials, and they are trying to implement at sites, but not yet commercialized as of now.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. That also answers the question, which is the best concrete that can be used in swimming pool, sir,
Yes,
from the
yes.
participants. Sir, another question, sir.
Yeah.
How will we decide the starting percentage of the GGBS in concrete while doing research, sir?
Okay. A good question. Because earlier also we have done at our University College of Engineering by MTech students and some of the BTech students. But we were also in under dilemma at that point of time, how much percentage to start with, what sort of percentage we should take. We have used 30%, 40%, 50%, and we are getting random strengths. So we have done several trials. Based on the trials only, we could arrive for M20 9%. So somebody should do trials, right? Then only we can able to understand. For example, with 9% GGBS, target strength 28.33, we got it. If you can able to use, let us say 15 to 20% GGBS for targeting for M20, you will get abnormally high strengths like M30, 35 MPa. We don't require for M20 30, 35 MPa. We require only 28, 27 MPa for M20, for which GGBS is 9% is enough. This is how in the beginning stage it was a problem, but we could able to resolve that problem by doing several trials. Now the line is very clear. I think all literature also people are mentioning. Therefore, now it is not a difficult task to decide the percentage of GGBS. As I told you, up to M80, 90, you can go 43% to 50%. So there is no problem now.
Thank you, sir. Another question, sir.
Why? And, for the benefit of participants, our paper is in Indian Concrete Journal. It is published in September 2016. Indian Concrete Journal. You people can, some researchers and some of the, faculty members can search the journal of Indian Concrete Journal, September 2016, in which we have given proportions and all the target strengths also. Okay, you can refer that paper. That paper will answer this question. This question's answer will be there in that paper. I think just now what you are asking the question is how to decide the percentage of GGBS by making trial and error method only. But now you need not do that because many researchers have done that, and it is already evident from several publications. Now it is ready-made. Then there is no problem with that. Okay.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Sir, why another question, sir? Why only replacement with GGBS, sir, from the participant? Okay.
Why only with GGBS? Why not with some other material, silica fume, some other material? Yeah, very good question again. GGBS, our purpose of using the GGBS is to improve the temperature or heat of hydration. To improve the heat of hydration, GGBS is only the material which can produce the heat in concrete. GGBS is blast furnace, ground granulated blast furnace slag. The slag only can produce the heat. Other materials cannot produce the heat. That is the problem. That is the reason why this is only the suitable material to produce the heat into the concrete, because we are lagging heat and we are supposed to go for 60 to 90 degrees temperature for 100% fly ash, which is not possible practically. In view of that, definitely we are supposed to go with some mineral admixture which is going to give heat of hydration. And this mineral admixture is very good material to generate the heat into the concrete in green mix state of the concrete. So this is suitable material as of now.
Thank you, sir. Sir, one more question, sir. percentage replacement of recycled aggregates is restricted, or can we go for 100% replacement, sir?
Yeah, we can go for 100% replacement. Our student, Mr. Gangaram, did 100% replacement up to M40 grade concrete. 100% replacement up to M40 grade concrete. Our one of the research scholar did work on that, and we could able to get the target strengths up to M40 grade concrete without any other coarse aggregate. 100% recycled aggregate only. But beyond that, what is happening is on high strength concrete, we are not able to get strength because the recycled aggregate concrete is having attached mortar, and we are expecting for very high strength concrete above 40, 50, 60, 70. In that, what is happening is, water absorption is more, and we are not able to normalize it. Still, it is in the research stage after M40. But up to M40, we can get the target strength without any problem, without any doubt.
Thank you, sir. One last question, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, do we need to heat alkali before mixing in cement? If needed, at how much temperature, sir?
Alkali we need not heat. Alkali we need not heat. Alkali material we are preparing. We need not have to heat the alkali before mixing. Are you getting my point? Automatically, if you add sodium hydroxide, sodium silicate, the flakes will dissolve, for which it takes time, 24 hours. We are not heating. We need not have to do any heating process. Only to dissolve the flakes into the, your liquid, we are keeping 24 hours prior to mixing. We need not have to heat. We are no more heating.
So
Okay.
Thank you, sir, for
Is
all
it
the
clear?
clarification.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. In spite of your busy schedule, you joined session and you have shared your vast experience with us, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Okay, Annapurna garu, thank you. And I wish you all the participants do better research. All of you must be faculty members. Try to do a lot of research in future, because concrete is a vast area. We can do a lot of research in this area. So with this, I congratulate Dr. Annapurna and Dr. Anuradha for conducting such a wonderful program. And thank you very much for the opportunity given to me. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Okay.
Yeah, there is announcement to the participants. Session 10. Session 10. This PDF is also shared to your WhatsApp group. You can check it. Okay. And all the best for your exam. Tomorrow is the last day in the FDP. Tomorrow in the morning hour, that is from 10 to 11:30, we'll be having a technical session. After 11:30, that is at 12 o'clock, we are having stress management by yoga. I request all of you be prepared to switch on your videos during that session, because that Madam Sashi Sharda, she is representing Ayur Yoga Life. So she has requested us to switch on video so that it should be a practical oriented one. Okay, so that is the reason I request all of you be prepared to switch on the videos for that particular session. And in the afternoon, you'll be having the test, time-bound test, Google form. Within the stipulated time, you should write the test and submit. The complete details again I'll share you. Meanwhile, okay, tomorrow in the morning hour, we'll just let you know about the attendance part. As I stated already, don't worry much about the attendance. If you are absent for 1 or 2 classes like that, it is okay. Okay, because of the connectivity issues or because of the Google form filling, etc., that parts will be taken care. But continuously absent and continuously absent for more number of like sessions, we can't help. Okay, then concentrate more on the test. Whatever the PPTs I received from resource persons, I have already shared. I am in the process of getting some more. as and when I'll be posting that on the WhatsApp group. If anybody have a doubt, please write in the chat box. We'll give some time for you to have some interaction, so that any difficulty you are facing or anything you want to have related to this test or related to the attendance or something else, you can just write that in the chat box. We'll give some 5 minutes time for all of you. Yeah. Exam timings, I said in the afternoon hours, mostly it could be at 2 o'clock. Our regular timing. Yoga session will end by 1:30. So that will be started at 2:30 probably. The test will be maybe half an hour or 40 minutes. After that, we'll be having the valedictory session. Tomorrow's program schedule already I posted in the WhatsApp group in the form of brochure. In the brochure, the third sheet of brochure is the schedule. You please see that. Okay, so only one PDF is there in which brochure and schedule are there. You can just look at that. All the days schedules are specified there. We have posted this attendance Google form also. All of you fill that. Then if you don't have any query, you can leave the hall. Number of questions
Excel sheet